let's start in Chicago. So, I said this. It's not a great offensive line. They have one receiver I like, to defensive head coach, and the Niners had, to me, much better personnel. It wasn't spectacular, but I thought he played a pretty smart fourth quarter. He didn't make a lot of big mistakes. My takeaway was on kind of if I would grade him based on what he had, how he played late, I thought Justin Fields was okay. I thought it was okay. How did you view it?
I felt the same way. He did a couple of things in that game that he would have never done a year ago. So that tells me that he is maturing mentally, and he showed something on the first touchdown play when he got flushed out of the pocket.
Yep.
And he rolled out, and the Bears and Justin Fields talked about this summer, that he had never worked on a scramble drill before. In other words, when the quarterback scrambles like it was to the left, the receivers on that side work back to the ball. They give him specific things what to do on a scramble. And the receivers away kind of drift away to get away from all the defenders. Well, a year ago, there's not a doubt in my mind, he would have tucked the ball and ran.
Right.
What does he do? He looks over the pack, and he knew that his safety valve was really the fourth guy, Dante Pettis, who he threw the touchdown to, who was on the far side of the field. Number one, there aren't a lot of guys that have that type of arm strength to throw it that far. The ball was wet. You saw the conditions. It was pouring down rain. So he made a great physical throw, and also he made a great decision. I really love what these guys are doing. Luke Getsy and this offensive staff, I mean, they are really playing to his strengths. I mean, they ran the ball they made 37 attempts to run it and only threw like 18 passing attempts. And it's all about giving their defense a chance and giving Justin Fields a chance to do what he did. And you mentioned the second half, Colin. I think this is worth mentioning. In the second half, they came out and did some quarterback runs. They ran a legitimate quarterback option, and he kept the ball, and then they got him on the edge a few times. So that's all good stuff. He has to do that stuff to be as good as he can possibly be at this stage of his game. They didn't run a screenplay last year. I added up. I was doing the game. I think they threw 3 screenplays in the first quarter, attempted screenplays. I mean, and I remember when I was at the Bears, the screen kings of the NFL were the Green Bay Packers with Mike Holmgren and Brett Favre. And Mike and I would talk in the offseason. I said, Mike, you just got fullback screens and tight end screens and tailback screens. He says, Dave, we are not that good at running the football. We look at a screen as a running play. So, and I tried telling the Bears fans this last night on a TV show. I said, guys, if we make 4 or 5 yards on a screen, that's a successful play. Everybody wants a screen to go for 50 yards. Well, if you make 4 yards and it's 2nd down and 5, 2nd down and 4, and you ran the ball, you'd be happy. That's a successful play. So I really like what the Bears are doing to try to give Justin Fields a chance to be successful.
The other thing that's important that you mentioned, that they played to his strengths, you go back and you look at quarterbacks. Kyler Murray jumps out to me, Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. Every year they tend to run a little less, but their athletic ability buys them about 20 starts in this league as they're figuring out the line of scrimmage. All these young quarterbacks, Steve Young, remember how much he ran early? And then as Steve got older, he ran less. Is that I talked to a coach years ago about this. He said, listen, for a lot of these guys, they start 1 or 2 years of college. Their legs give them 1.5 to 2 years to pick up yards. Russell Wilson said it. Year 3, the light went on. Mahomes said it in year 2. He goes, I can finally read a defense. So my thing is, I don't look in the first couple years of a quarterback, I don't look negatively at running. Like whatever you have to do to figure out yards. Now, Big Ben to me didn't graduate out of that for a while. Like he took too many shots from like year 4 to year 10.
Right.
But I do think, as I watched them yesterday, I'm like, there are guys that run out of necessity, and then there are guys that run to pick up yards. Do you see how many times Justin Fields, I saw at least twice that he slides. He just went down. He's a big athlete, Dave. He slid, got down. And to your point, a lot of these great athletes at all these positions, sometimes great athletes are harder to coach because athletic ability, it doesn't matter what position they play. I'm with you. I thought it looked like, I watched him last year and I thought he looked a little out of control. I never felt that Sunday.
No. And in his press conference, he talked about the second touchdown he threw. We ran that play at Dallas, and we would send Daryl Johnson into the flat, and we would use our tight end, Jay Novacek, as the guy to get behind him. So all it really is is a 2-level pass route. You got one guy short and one guy deep. It doesn't matter who they are. Well, the Bears did that, and they sent their tight end kind of into the flat, and they sent the wide receiver on the deep route, a 2-level pass. And he said both guys were open. Why not throw the touchdown? So he made another good decision and understood the concept of the play. And, and the other side of that coin now, Matt Eberflus, the head coach, people are going to copy. It's a copycat league. What he did defensively was outstanding. They run 4 down linemen. If you look at Indy, they were the 5th least pressure team a year ago. They aren't going to blitz. So when you play a Mike Shanahan team and you're getting motions and you're getting Samuels on reverses and option plays and everything you can imagine, the soundest defense is to line up and not play a lot of man, not run with guys, just play vanilla, don't blitz and get caught inside. And that's what the Bears did. The Bears played a very vanilla defense, a few pressures. The big interception that they got, they did trick them. They lined up in a 4-man rush, and they dropped the nose guard to make it a 3-man rush and dropped Eddie Jackson, the safety, in the middle of the field. So they had like a double robber defense. And Eddie Jackson just read the eyes. He said it in the press conference. All I did was study Trey Lance's eyes, and right where he looked is where I broke, and he intercepted the ball. So they did some great things. Hey, 12 or 13 penalties to 3 by the Bears. Okay, the 2 sacks on each team, tackles for losses were about the same. But the Bears beat them in the turnover margin. The Bears beat the 49ers in turnover margin by 1, and they beat them by penalties by 12 to 13 to 3. So, they're playing smart football right now. You're going to have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves, Colin.